Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial today. In today's video, we are going to learn how to make this beautiful tube dress with a gathered yoke. So if that is what you want to learn how to make for yourself, then keep watching this video to the very end. Firstly, we'll be starting off from our basic bodice front. Okay, half scale from your shoulder to your waistline. I went ahead to label front with your basic darts, which is the waist dart and the side post dart. So the next thing I'm going to be taking is my sleeve. Then I'm going to be separating it into two, that is back and front, from the center, just as I'm doing right now. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. So I kept the back aside, and of course we are going to be using the front sleeve. I'm going ahead to attach it like this to my bodice. If you want a very bogus yoke, please, you don't push the sleeve inwards, all right? Just to make sure you don't push it inwards, just keep it outwards if you want a very bogus yoke. So now I'm marking the center part of my sleeve and I'm connecting it to my bust point, which is the star line for the shoulder princess dart that we are going to be using for this very particular dress. Then I'm going ahead to determine where I'm going to be using as the neckline of my tube. So I decided to use my chest line. Okay, I'm going ahead to use my chest line. Then I'll go ahead to start drawing what the shape of the tube should look like. It looks like it's kind of straight, but there's a little bit curve there. So just play around with it. All right. That's what I'm just trying to do now. You just play around with it. It looks like it's straight, but I kind of added some little curve to it. Don't know whether the curve was obvious or not. So I used my marker to highlight it, and this is what it looks like. I went ahead to contour my underbust. Of course, 1 inch apart from the underbust line. 1 inch apart at the bust apart measurement, from the bust apart measurement, sorry, at the underbust line. I went ahead to connect it to my bust point and to my waistline like so. Please check the description box. Do want to check the description box for the fabric I used for everything you need for this dress. Okay, do want to check the description box. So now I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches, which is actually where I want my neckline to start from the shoulder, and then I'm going ahead to rule a straight line to meet that very point like so. And of course, we are going to be cutting out the whole of this part. We are going to be discarding it. We don't need it. And having done that, at this point, this is what our pattern looks like. Now on the sleeve, on the hem of the sleeve, you're going to be marking 2 inches from the center sleeve like so. All right. So you're connecting from the tube point to that 2 inches. You're connecting from the tube point to that 2 inches. I just wanted to make sure I marked 2 inches. You're going to be connecting from the tube point to that 2 inches. This is because this is not actually a sleeve. This dress does not have a sleeve. It's kind of a yoke or a cape, whatever. All right. So you don't need this part of the sleeve that will go into the armhole because there is no armhole. So you don't need this part of the sleeve. So right now we're going to be cutting it out. I hope you understand. So this is what it looks like right now. I'm going to be cutting this very part out. So this dress is literally a tube dress with a gathered yoke sitting on it. A gathered yoke that went into the sleeve sitting on it. So now let's just work on the tube dress. I'm going to be cutting open my side bust dart. I'm going to be cutting open my side bust dart. Right now we are trying to create the shoulder princess dart. Sorry for the noise in my background. I don't know whose dog is barking. So I'm going to be closing the dart, and then we are transferring the dart excess to that very style line to create our shoulder princess dart. And I'm going ahead to cut off the darts at the waistline and at the under bust up onto the bust point like so. So at this point, this is what we're having. Of course, I always smoothen this out to avoid any pointy whatever, and we don't want that. So that is what I'm going ahead to do right now. So at this point, our tube pattern for the front, our tube bustier pattern for the front is ready. All right, so I'll go ahead and use my pen now to label so I don't get confused when I'm cutting on fabric. I label center front and also side front. So just, this is what it looks like, okay? I'll just set it aside. Now for this part, we're going to be cutting this part off. Like I said earlier, we do not need it. I'm going to be cutting it off. So you want to take a very close look. This is what it looks like, okay? I'm labeling shoulder. I also went ahead to label center sleeve. Very, very important, because at some point you might get confused. We are going to slash and spread this. So you want to do this, you want to label. So now heading over to the back, this is my basic back pattern with the basic dart, which is the waist dart for the back. I went ahead to attach the sleeve. Again, I want to say it. Do not push the sleeve inwards if you want a bogus gathered yoke. All right, you just make sure it's touching the tip of the shoulder and the cap sleeve, and you tape it down. Don't push it inwards. But here I pushed mine inwards because my fabric was not enough. My fabric will not be enough for a bogus yoke. I marked also the center of my sleeve and I came down by 3 inches. I'm trying to contour the back. I don't know if this is actually not necessary, but just do it because I did it and it came out nice. So just do it. I squared the line across, and on top of that line I'm going to be marking my bust about measurement, which is 3 inches. I'll go ahead to connect it to this very point like so. And then with my long ruler, I'll go ahead to withdraw the dart from that point to the original waist dart line, from that point to the original waist dart line. So here you have it, we've contoured the back. Now the next thing I'm going to do, of course the back is also a tube back, and I was trying to get my neckline for it. First we have the neckline for the yoke. All right, so for neckline for the yoke, I'm taking 1.5 inches from the shoulder, and then I went down by ½ inch. We already took ½ inch, so 1 inch. All right, so I'm going ahead to connect it like so. Now this is the neckline for the yoke part of it. Can you see that? Now I'm deciding on the tube neckline, like where my tube is going to start for the back. So I decided to use this point. I didn't actually take the measurement, but somewhere around where the armhole stops. All right, so that is what it looks like. Then same thing we did to the front. I'm taking 2 inches from this very point, from the center sleeve to this very point. I'm going to be connecting it like so to this point. And this is what it looks like right now. I went ahead to use the highlighter to make it very visible. This is what it looks like. And then we'll go ahead to start cutting out. So I haven't done this now. This is what it looks like. Then we'll go ahead now to cut off the dart. So at this point, the back pattern for the tube bustier is ready. All right, the back pattern for the tube bustier is ready. I labeled center back and also side back, so I'll just set it aside. And now this is the part of the yoke for the back. In order to close up that dart, because if you don't close it up, it will affect your stitching while you're, you can as well leave it since you're going to be forming gathers. But then just close it so you don't get confused. I actually closed it, so just do what to close it. I'm cutting out the neckline. I'm also going to be cutting out the parts that went into this area. And then I'm going to be using my tape to hold this together, to tape it together, closing the dart. While closing the darts, please. So I went ahead to close it now. So now I brought the back and the front sleeve together. All right, we're going to be joining them together at the shoulder. You're going to join them together at the shoulder. All right, so once you join it, technically this part, or automatically this very part, is going to open. So do not worry, you need that opening to be able to move your arm around if you wear this dress. So you need the opening. Now there's something, if you want more fullness, Like I said, apart from not pushing your sleeves inside, if you want more fullness, you can still slash and spread this from the center. All right, from the very center, not on the shoulder. You can as well start from the shoulder if you want. You can as well start from the shoulder. But whatever you're doing, just you can slash and spread it if you want more fullness. Okay, you can slash and spread it if you want more fullness. So at this point now, I'm going to be cutting this out. I didn't slash and spread like I said, my fabric for the upper part. The red fabric for the yoke wasn't that much. So I didn't want to risk it. Now you're going to be cutting out this back and front, the neckline, on your lining first before slashing and spreading, so that you have a guide on where to sew your back and front. Before you slash and spread the neckline for the back and front, you want to do well and cut it out on a lining. This way it is. The way it is, you want to cut it out on the lining so that you have a guide on where to gather the neckline, because you want your neckline to come out very nice and beautiful, okay? So now I'm going ahead to draw in my style lines. Please bear in mind that I've already cut out that part of the neckline, like I said, not from the sleeve, even if the sleeve is going to go in, but just a little. But your focus should be on the part of the back and front neckline together like so. Cut it out first on your lining before you slash and spread, so you have a guide on where to gather the yoke for the neckline. All right, very necessary. So I haven't done that now. This is what it looks like. I just know that I had to fold up to kind of see what it's going to look like. Then I decided to cut this part so we can have a straight hem. I decided to cut it out so we can have a straight hem. So at this point, this is what it looks like. Now we are going to slash and spread this whole stuff. All right, we're going to slash and spread this whole thing. On a fresh pattern paper like so, I went ahead to measure the midpoint of this fresh pattern paper. You want to get the midpoint of the fresh pattern paper where you're going to be placing your slashes on, whatever you've slashed, where you're going to be placing it and spreading them out on. So when you've marked out the center piece, you're going to be taking your ruler to take it all the way down. Just rule a straight line at the center. Okay, so now we have a guide. All right. So now also on this very pattern, you're going to be ruling a straight line. You're going to also be ruling a straight line using your shoulder as your guide, shoulder line as a guide. Okay, you're going to be ruling it down. Can you see something like this? I rather like to use my marker to kind of do rough sketches so I know which one, because the paper I'm spreading out on is white. The one I'm going to slash is white also. So the blue pen is going to help me to know that, okay, this is your foundation. This is where you're spreading out on. That was why I did that stuff. I don't have a color paper now. So the technique is you want to make sure that that center line aligns with that of the one that you're slashing out on. If you can check, you see that all the center lines, they align. Make sure that all the center lines align. That is what you're checking, to make sure that the center lines align. Okay, you want to make sure that all the center lines align. That is going to be your guide. That was why you even ruled the center lines in the first place. You want to make sure that they all align. So here I'm done slashing and spreading, and this is how much I have. Yours can be way bigger. Like I said, my fabric is way too small, so I didn't want to risk it. So this is what I have, and this is going to be serving as my yoke. So let's head straight to the sewing part so you understand how to sew this up. Firstly, I'm going to be joining my tube bustier together. All right, I'm going to be joining the tube bustier together. And I haven't done that. I'll head over to the back. I'm going to be joining the back of it together also. That center is for the zipper. I'm going to be joining the back together. So I haven't joined the front together. You're going to be sewing up the back and the front like so. All right, like you're going to be stitching it. So you're going to be stitching the sides to get your accurate shape. Now, on that yoke part of it, I ran a gathered stitch at the neckline for the front and for the back. You want to gather the neckline for the front and the back. And I haven't done that for the sleeve part. You're going to be pleating it. Remember the lining stuff I talked about? I've turned the neckline of my front and back. Now this is for one side. You pleat the sleeve area and you turn the neckline and you gather it for the neckline of the front and back, please. So I haven't done that now. The way you're going to stitch is you want to take your front and put it at the center front of the tube. Then you stitch all the way down. Then when you're done with the center front, you're going to be gathering the sleeve. Everything you're sewing for the front should stop 1 inch before or ½ inch before the center seam for the front. 1 inch or ½ inch before the center seam for the front. So after sewing it, this is what it looks like. Same thing for the back. After sewing the back, whatever you're doing for the sleeve should stop 1 inch or ½ inch before the center seam for the back. So now we're going to be using our lining to turn it up. Remember the lining I told you for the neckline of the front and back? That is what you're seeing there. That looks like a skin colored fabric. Okay, so now for the lining, you want to sew this up to give it a neat finish. Okay, you're just going to be placing the lining like so. After sewing the front and back of the lining, you place it and then cover it. Use it to cover up. You're just going to sew up the lining for the front and back, then use it to cover it up. At the end, this is what it looks like. Then you have to join your flare to it and then put your zipper. In the description box, I've left the link to the proper detailed tutorial of a flare. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.